Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. FormaL has revealed quite some detail as to his mentorship of Dashy over the last couple of years, revealing that ever since FormaL's return to Halo, Dashy's been more committed after seeing FormaL's success to getting the same thing done in Call of Duty. Two players that have been compared many a time over their careers for their similar individual raw ability, but only one of those so far has translated that into consistent championship success. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. This was an absolute masterpiece here that Kimchi put together. I know that many of us at Breaking Point threw in ideas and Easter eggs to put into this one. I mean, like, where do you even begin with this? We've got Simp here on the left-hand side. We've got HyDra in the baguette. The Seattle Surge bowling ball here for Rambo Ray, which I thought was kind of a nice touch. This keyboard, okay, it's kind of small on the screen, but this keyboard says to Envoy. There's also, because keyboarder back in the day, there's also on this right-hand side, which I think I suggested in some form or another, a headset here to Awakening, right? Sound EQ, all that type of stuff. There's even in the background, you know, we've got Drazah. We've got this, like, stocking here for Minnesota Rocker with some coal in it. There's one for Vikul with some, like, head and shoulders shampoo, like, which is pretty funny stuff. There's also attached with this slice of the pie, so many great Easter eggs, and even Doug is like being left outside here, which is pretty funny just because, you know, Doug always talks about he's getting left out of stuff by these pro players. Even the cookies have got nicked here by TJ and it says I owe you. So there's just some great things in this. I thought it was really cool to see. Hopefully you all had a great day yesterday, by the way. And I know that every year Christmas time this always gets posted because back in the good old days when, you know, to be fair, Black Ops 2 was a game I got for, I'm pretty sure, yeah, I was a Christmas noob for Black Ops 2. I was like the official, so I was basically the kid that they were talking about when Trek put this together and saying that, you know, don't go easy on the Christmas noobs. It's not something that they talk about anymore, and it's not even something they can talk about because SBMM makes it impossible to make this happen anyway. But yeah, good times for sure, as I say. Hopefully you all had a fantastic day. Crim6 as well, by the way, on the absolute grind. I thought it was really cool to see him, you know, working on his health, because if you guys aren't aware, he's going to be racing in the Porsche North American Championship Series, something like that next season, and therefore, you know, he needs to drop some weight, right, for the Rafa Racing Club. So he's on the grind for this. I thought it was really cool stuff, and I'm sure, I don't know what the situation is with this top lip, whether that's still affecting him or whatever, but I imagine just being healthier in general is going to help him. So here he is on the grind, awesome stuff. And we can actually see from a second from FormaL here, and also FormaL did mention towards the end of the podcast that, you know, his health and well-being is a massive focus point for him going into the upcoming years. But let's just dive into this whole FormaL thing, right? So on the Easter episode that Hex came out with just yesterday or the day before, whatever it was, with FormaL talking about the history of really the last couple of years and his move to Halo and what that has kind of meant, because FormaL's career is no doubt legendary from at least a controller esports perspective, the greatest of all time across Halo, then to Call of Duty, won what he won in COD, back to Halo, won the World Championship, nearly, of course, went back-to-back with this year's Halo World Championship victory. They fell short to FaZe. They've decided to make a roster change. aPG is out, and, well, not formerly known as Penguin is now in for their roster, and FormaL went on to say in the episode that he reckons that, look, it's going to be SSG, it's going to be FaZe, it's going to be OpTic. They're going to be the only teams that are really relevant on a championship winning perspective going into the upcoming season as far as he is concerned. But FormaL also talked about his history with Dashy, right? They played together back in 2021. He also said, FormaL, this I thought was kind of interesting, that during that season, it wasn't even, from FormaL's perspective, it wasn't even so much about winning that year. They were just having good times. Yeah, it was just vibing. And I think you could kind of tell that, right? Because that team, FormaL, Dashy, Scump, and Envoy, should have had more success than they did, but clearly FormaL was getting frustrated with the online stuff, and, you know, it was the end of that season that he effectively decided to retire, and that looked like it was going to be it for his playing days. Before then, he goes to Halo, likes the game, sets a plan, commits to the plan, and becomes one of the most successful players over the last couple of years, has won multiple championships, including the Worlds, back in 2022 in such remarkable fashion. So, you know, given the fact that FormaL and Dashy were both on that team together, OpTic Chicago, sure, Dashy went on to win an event next year in Vanguard, but since then, it's not exactly been an uphill trajectory. Now, we know these two, FormaL and Dashy, have got along well for a long time. Sure, they play together, but also when there was talk about the CDL bubble being a thing and playing, you know, from the Hex quarters or whatever the case would be, FormaL and Dashy, they loved it there, right? They hung out a lot of the times there, and even when the other players are moving downtown to the, you know, the facility in the heart of downtown Dallas, you know, it goes, another Hex quarters is no more, and Dashy's moved down there as well, like near Methods or something, and then I think a similar thing for FormaL. So, you know, they played together here for a long time. time, great friends for a very long time. Of course, they did play together during that 2021 season, and we know how, supportive FormaL has been of Dashy. I'm sure that FormaL sees a lot of himself in Dashy in terms of ability and all this stuff, and even after the whole Dashy versus Rambo saga, FormaL came out and, basically defended Dashy and was talking about coaches and that, well, they don't always know that much and this other stuff. So, FormaL was definitely on Dashy's side of that whole debacle, and then when he was dropped from OpTic, obviously FormaL was saying, like, I'm really going to miss Brandon, like, it's really sad the way this has worked out. And then we believe, right, that during the 2022 off-season, when OpTic were going to blow it up, FormaL was on the phone to Scump while he was in Hawaii or wherever he was. You guys know the story. FormaL then phoned up Scump and was like, dropping Dashy is not a good idea, so let's not do that. And then Scump seemingly thought, right, actually, you've probably got a point, Mr. Piper, let's get Dashy back in, right? So that off-season, they were going to make changes, and then they decided, it was going to be Cammy and HyDra or whatever it was going to be, and then they eventually decided to stick together, which didn't last that long, but of course Dashy is still OpTic at the end of the day. So FormaL also gives some discussion into kind of the way the mentorship has gone, I suppose, between the two of them, and not even, as I say, mentorship, but more so FormaL showing the way, FormaL showing how it's done, FormaL showing that if you have this level of talent at video games, how you need to execute to actually achieve championship success. FormaL has shown the blueprint to Dashy that over the last couple of years when he's moved to Halo, committed to success, and delivered on that success for the Green Wall. Dashy apparently, according to FormaL and to Hex, is taking some serious notes here.
Put in my brain last night.
Them two, they never get under my skin. No,
absolutely not under your skin, but like not even annoying a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Neither.
Really?
Yeah, not even a little bit.
That's very good. So you've been a good mentor then, because I as a mentor, I think I'm one of the worst. I was never meant to be a good one because I always get like triggered and annoyed, and I'm just.
No, yeah, I mean, like once you understand a person, like Brandon, for example, like it's hard to get mad at him when he's not really doing anything out of like, like trying to piss you off. He's just the way he is,
Yeah.
And
what's obviously he's had his level, his own personal things that he's gone through, the controversies of whether he had the commitment to show up on time and did it on time. What is one thing that he's taken from you that he's implemented? I know I know these answers.
I think he's. I don't know if there's like a specific thing. I just know that for me and him to separate after we teamed, and then I went on to Halo, and then he went on to his COD journey. Like we're watching each other's journeys. You know what I'm saying? And like he's watching me like go on and like win a bunch of these tournaments and like saying something and then going and doing it. And then I'm sure that's like sticking with him and motivating him. Just like he doesn't want to not get any wins. He wants to like be right there with me and like stuff like that. I think that motivates him. So I mean, I'm sure that sticks with him.
One of the things that he said about you while we were traveling is that what he's learned from you the most is the seriousness of the level that it takes from a commitment standpoint to say that you are going to lead something or get to go somewhere and accomplish something. That's something that he like never took into consideration before.
So we know how well these guys get on, and also how much of an inspiration really FormaL has been for Dashy. This is, multiple times over the last couple of years, Dashy's tweeted about just watching FormaL play and how impressive he's been. Even a couple of days ago here when it was FormaL's birthday, happy birthday to the best POV worldwide at FormaL, enjoy it brother type thing. So, we've obviously heard these players compared before. We've had Octane say that, Dashy has arguably the best shot ever, shoots the straightest of any player ever, apart from possibly FormaL. But those are kind of like the two AR players, at least in OpTic history, that are considered to be right up there. To be fair, Octane isn't too far behind himself. Maybe he's on a level terms, Octane human turret and all this stuff. But at least from an OpTic perspective, FormaL and Dashy have been compared many a time. I think it was, believed at least that Dashy would effectively be the next dominant AR player that OpTic had. And in some ways he has been, but it's not like the championship results have necessarily been there. FormaL was around during the Dynasty days. They won 25 championships or whatever over that year period. Then obviously the Dynasty collapses, FormaL goes to Luminosity Gaming, and then very shortly after that Dashy joins. FormaL did kind of return on OpTic Chicago and Chicago Huntsman when Dashy wasn't there, but that was kind of the transitionary period between FormaL being the dominant main AR for OpTic over many a year, and then Dashy seeming to take up that mantle. and they teamed together, you know, maybe there was the passing of the torch, whatever, like that was the theory at the time, but it hasn't really worked out like that, right? I mean, Dashy, sure, they won the events, started Vanguard, since then hasn't been the same story, but at the same time, FormaL has gone over to Halo, and has been winning a lot over there, multiple championships, back to back to back, they won in 2022, even this season, okay, bit of a lackluster year, but they put it together at the end, won an event, second at the World Championship, so, you know, it's those consistent Champs Grand Finals, like, let's be honest here, the last time OpTic Gaming, or OpTic Texas, whatever version of OpTic, has made a Champs Grand Final was when they won it in 2017. Like, they've not made any Champs Final since then, and it's always at the end of the year where they've struggled somewhat, whereas FormaL has made 2 back-to-back Champs Grand Finals in his game in Halo in just the last 2 years. So I think this is what FormaL's getting across, that Dashy's seeing what FormaL's done. You know, he seemed to be burned out on the game, seemed to be, you know, not so committed anymore, but commits again, creates a plan, goes to Halo, and then delivers the championship results for OpTic over the last couple of years. I'm sure that, you know, inspired Dashy no ends, and Hex's opinion then, obviously following on from that, was that basically Dashy's even told him that it's kind of the commitment level and, you know, the level that it takes to actually get to what FormaL and other players like that have achieved in terms of putting in the time, creating a plan and executing on it, which Dashy hadn't had maybe as much appreciation for until now. And even last year, there were still questions about it, the whole, you know, the Rambo situation, we know how it goes. But we know that FormaL kind of took Dashy's side on that, and, you know, this I'm pretty sure was from the Huntsman, or from the OpTic Chicago days, sorry, like the year after, when obviously they were pretty good boys. But I guess it's one question to be inspired by FormaL and, you know, have him talk in certain ways and understand how to play, and then it's another level to actually achieve those level of results. I mean, some players in esports and sports history, they have the talent and they get the success. Some players have the talent and they don't get the success for various reasons. I do think the current team environment that Dashy's on will certainly help this, like having Kenny around, who's won, I mean, how many championships has Kenny won? 8 or 9, something like that, which is very impressive, really, given where Kenny has been. You know, it's not like he's been on bad teams, he's been on great teams, but the kind of eras that he's inhabited, Kenny, and the teams he's been on, like, he's never been on FaZe, right? He's never been on these dominant force teams that could or should have won more, but Kenny's won a lot over the last few years, knows how to do so. Of course, Karma is now the head coach, really, so, you know, and he was part of the FormaL era dynasty roster. So there's no doubt that the pieces are there for Dashy to get this level of success. Now, like, do I expect Dashy to go on to win 30 championships across a couple of titles? Like, no, he's won 2 over the last 7 years. That's always what gets touted around, is like, well, FormaL won, you know, 25 championships over like 4 or 5 years in COD or whatever it was, and then Dashy's won 2 over 7. It's not quite the same story, and like at the same time, it's not like OpTic have always had the best rosters. Last year was a bit of a mess, but Dashy has to take some responsibility for that. And the question has always been, will he actually be able to put it all together and become the well-rounded figure that FormaL has been? I think it also comes down to like a leadership and a comms point of view. FormaL, especially towards the end of his career, and certainly now, you know, known as having the human UAV, whatever. Incredible comms, great leadership, you know, absolute steely, ice cold in the clutch moments. I'm not sure that personality side or that like leadership side or comms side has necessarily been there in Dashy's arsenal. Maybe that's fine, but you know, FormaL had that, and he also had the absolutely disgusting straight shooting. So, and you know, Champs Grand Finals ice or whatever the case might be. That's not necessarily always been there for Dashy. So that's something that you can work on, or maybe it's something that's not necessary because you've got Kenny on your team, it's fine. Scump never needed to be a great communicator or a great leader, really, because he had the pieces around him on his rosters, so he could focus on getting the kills, and he did that very well indeed. So you're never going to see 2 players that are, you know, identical in every way, and therefore there's so many parallels, but there are plenty of parallels between the 2 of them, and the one parallel that Dashy would like to resolve, of course, is the lack of championships, but seemingly, according to FormaL and Hex, that is, well, his #1 priority to find a way to change that around, and he's learned a lot from FormaL, it seems, on that in the recent era. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.